Hi, it's Rich Trani. Thanks for watching TMC Net's Editor's Day, Santa Clara 2015. On our program is Peter Goldmacher with Aerospike. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Fantastic. Thanks for being here today.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
So tell us a little bit about your company. High-performance NoSQL databases is how I know you. Maybe you can give us more on that?
Yeah, sure. Aerospike, our calling card is speed at scale. We're a high-performance NoSQL database. I think if you are watching the database market, what you've seen over the last 5 years is the database transition from a product to a category. There are over 250 databases in the market today, and what you're seeing is prior to about 2010, pretty much anything anyone needed to do in a database, they did in a traditional relational database, like an Oracle or like an IBM. And as technology progressed and the data sets became larger and more varied, there became a need for different kinds of databases to handle different kinds of data for different kinds of purposes. So many of the databases on the market today are Oracle alternatives. At Aerospike, we think we're a little bit unique. We don't really view ourselves as an Oracle alternative. We're not running commodity workloads that you could run in Oracle. We're running mission-critical workloads that have the explicit requirement for speed at scale. And what that means to us and for our customers is they want to get a very large data set, and they want to be able to access that data set very, very quickly, read and write to that data set quickly, so they can build sophisticated decision engines to solve day-to-day problems. So maybe a use case is helpful.
Sure.
If we look at fraud, when you go to use your credit card, and you use your credit card at your regular gas station, no problem. Your grocery store, no problem. But if you're traveling and you land in Paris and you try and buy coffee at the airport in Charles de Gaulle, you get denied. Well, why is that? Well, in the traditional fraud algorithms that most companies use today, the number one priority is they must return an answer in 750 milliseconds, which is 3/4 of a second. So if I only have so much time to give an answer, I can only look at so much data, and I can only write a fraud algorithm that's so sophisticated because I've got that time constraint. So I say, is Rich current on his payments? Is he over his limit? Is he shopping somewhere we know he has shopped before? And if one of those three conditions aren't met, I say no. Don't approve the charge. That's an enormous problem for two reasons. One is you as a customer are unhappy, and the probability that you churn is higher. But two, if I'm a company, that's called a false negative, and that's money to my bottom line that I don't get to take in. Now, if you think about data today, and you think about Hadoop and a lot of the other data stores out there, nobody has a problem collecting all that data. That problem has been solved. The problem is, how do I collect that data but also make it transactional immediately? So what you can do in an Aerospike database, think of that same fraud algorithm. If I can collect a lot more data and I can write a more complicated decisioning engine, I can get near perfect results every time. So think about, I'm asking those same three questions. But in that data set, I'm also looking at things like, did Rich buy a plane ticket to Paris? Did he book a hotel in Paris on that credit card? Did he buy a burrito at SFO 12 hours ago, which could indicate that he's at the airport? So you're talking about the richness of that data. I can also look at things as, is Rich buying something from a vendor that we know, that typically we score very high? High trust. Is he using an IP address we know? Sure. Is he using a device we know? So all of a sudden, if I can look at all that data and put that in my rules engine, I don't have any problems with fraud anymore. So the mandate for that is I've got to have a database that can collect that data and make that data accessible for that fraud algorithm.
It's a really good example because when that happens to me, and it does on some of my cards, I just use a different card. Yeah. So they just lost that business. I mean, one of the cards is going to take it, and I'm going to try them all, right?
Yeah.
I mean, some of them have apps, and you can go into the app, and you can manually tell them where you are, and I mean, it's a little bit of a pain. If you don't do all that, you're just like, okay, I'll use this card instead of that card. So where does the database live? Is it cloud? Is it is it on the prem?
The majority of our customers run our database on premises. Now, you can run it in the cloud, but this is a really critical differentiating point. 100% of our customers use our database in mission-critical revenue-impacting applications. So they may trial it in the cloud, but because it's so core to their business, the majority of the time they want to run it on-prem. So what we see is a lot of proof of concepts in AWS and Google Compute Engines and and lower cost kind of test and dev environments. But then when they decide to go forward, they almost always bring it in-house.
Okay, and they run it typically on, I imagine, flash drives and things like that, as opposed to...
Yeah, so I gave you a little bit on what we do, the way we do it, and what is really unique to us is our founder, who had this vision 6 years ago, that if you write a database to flash and not to a rotating disk, you get incredible performance. I'm a political science major. I can't tell you how it works. I just know it works. So if you look at the characteristics of flash, it's faster and it's much more dense. So the benefit to the customer is they don't need to buy as many servers, so they have a dramatic reduction in server count, which is also a dramatic reduction in specific costs. You can buy less hardware, but also attendant costs. I don't need as many people to administer my system. So flash is a really, really unique and differentiating characteristic. It's how we do what we do. Our customers are marginally interested in that. What they really care about is they're doing better business at a lower cost.
That's fantastic. So the competitive environment is heating up with high-performance databases, right? We've got cloud vendors they seem to be focusing more and more, some of them, on that problem. So the question is, how are you differentiating in a world where that opportunity is getting larger, and so even the big companies are trying to get into that business?
Yeah, what we see generally in the market is when you're building a product, you've got to make a decision very early in the life of the product. Am I going for product breadth, or am I going for product depth? And almost every vendor out there says, I want to go for product breadth, because I want to build a product that's pretty good at a lot of things so that I can compete against the established order, Oracle, SQL Server, DB2, and I can get that workload, even though it may not be a direct fit, it's good enough.
Okay.
That's not what we've done. We've said we're going depth. We're not doing lots of different things. We're doing one thing, and we're doing it really, really well. So there are some databases where you can get scale. There are some databases where you can get speed. We're the only database where you can get speed at scale. And that is a critical core differentiator. The lower total cost of ownership is a complete bonus, and when we make our claims that we make in our marketing literature, people often don't believe it because they're pretty amazing. And then when we get customers into a proof of concept and they're running their workload in our environment, our conversion rate from proof of concepts is extremely high.
That's great. So going forward, are there things we can expect that you can talk about?
It's interesting. Short answer is yes, but it won't be as quickly as we'd like to be able to tell you things, because so many of our customers this is how they're fundamentally differentiating themselves in their market. So they'll tell us behind closed doors how much they love us when we say, hey, can we, speaking to the microphone, they say, no, can't. We love you, but we're not going to give you the endorsement because the 35 guys that want to beat our brains out, we don't really want them using your product. So we have a couple high-profile customers we talk about, like Alcatel-Lucent, which is a great customer. We pretty much run the table in ad tech. Every ad tech vendor that's not Google and not Facebook pretty much uses our database, which we take as tremendous validation. But unfortunately, I can tell you who our customers are, but I'd have to kill you.
Okay, but we'll probably get more reviews on the video if that was the case. But we'll try to avoid that because I won't be around to experience it. So going forward, I wanted to ask one last question, and that is, what did we leave out, if anything, that a potential purchaser, someone who wants to buy your products, might need to know or might want to know?
Yeah, the problem, the struggle we have in marketing is that we are not a general purpose database for everybody. The hardest thing we have when we go to market is finding the right use case, because oftentimes people don't quantify their problem in the same way we look at it. So we generally think of things, if you are trying to look at a large data set and you are trying to automate your decision-making process on that data set, we're really the only game in town. Now that could be in telecom, it could be in e-commerce, it could be in gaming, it could be in ad tech, it could be across any category, but if generally we deal with the guys that are thinking big and are the on the cutting edge of application development.
Awesome. Thanks for being here. This is great.
Thank you, Rich.